It looks as if chaos is reigning in Iraq. The country's falling apart. The ISIS is gaining ground, taking more cities, taking the key choke points between Iraq and Syria. And the United States seems clueless. So the Secretary of State is in Iraq today trying to prevent that country from falling into an all-out civil war.
His visit comes as Islamic terrorists are not only taking control of more and more of Iraq, but also spreading Sharia law. Ephraim Graham has the story.
At least 70% of Anbar province is now under the control of militants from ISIS. The jihadist group is on a mission to create an Islamic state across Sunni areas of Iraq and Syria. The Obama administration believes Iraqi faction leaders need to come together to stop ISIS from taking any more territory. It's a message U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is sharing today with Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. The Obama administration believes that Iraqi's faction leaders need to come together to stop ISIS from taking any more territory. A message U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is sharing today with Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki.
This is a critical moment where together we must urge Iraq's leaders to rise above sectarian motivations.
In the meantime, the U.S. is sending 300 military advisors, but Iraq says what they need are American airstrikes.
We have an agreement which say whenever the new Iraqi democratic government is threatened, America is ready to help.
Many Republican lawmakers also want President Obama to order an air assault.
I think that we should cut off ISIS's access to their command and control structure in Syria. And I think primarily that involves air power.
Be realistic about the nature of the threat. When we're arguing over 300 advisors, when the request had been for 20,000 in order to do the job right, I'm not sure we've really addressed the problem.
But the Obama administration says the Iraqi leaders must start working together before any kind of military solution can be effective. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Well, the truth is the Iraqis have got to get rid of Maliki. He's been an absolute disaster. He is very partisan. He is brutal, dictatorial against his enemies. He's set up what amounts to a Shia state and shunned the Sunnis, and these ISIS people represent Sunnis, and the majority of the Arabs in the world are Sunnis, not Shias. And so he's set himself up for a huge disaster, and we haven't done anything about it. We had the opportunity of having a status of forces agreement, but we didn't take it. Well, here at home, leading conservatives are warning that America needs to change direction away from the policies of the current president. John Jessup has that story from Washington. Here's John.
That's right, Pat. Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal blasted President Obama and other Democrats, saying they're waging wars against religious freedom and education. And he said a rebellion is brewing in America against Washington. Jindal was just one of the speakers at the annual conference of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, where leading political figures came to speak in front of a very important voting bloc, evangelical Christians. David Brody has the story.
One by one, they came to this stage, weaving a message of faith and freedom. Some of them were possible presidential candidates, like New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, but others, like the new majority leader of the House of Representatives, Kevin McCarthy, well, he came here preaching a message of conservative unity, despite the disputes over the direction of the party between the Tea Party and establishment conservatives. Backstage in our exclusive interview, McCarthy played up the harmony theme.
First and foremost, I want to make sure that we're united, but we want to change the country. We want to change the direction. I want to restructure government itself. These agencies have become too large. They need to be streamlined. There's too much duplication in it as well. We want to unshackle what has held us back for so long.
McCarthy and GOP leadership in both the House and Senate will also have to confront a divide on what to do in Iraq. Some lawmakers, like Florida Senator Marco Rubio, feel like decisive military action needs to be taken. Other Republicans aren't so sure they want to get involved in this fight. Rubio told us that's a mistake.
They're wrong. We're going to have to deal with ISIS. And I think the choice for us is not whether we're going to have to deal with them. The choice is, do we deal with them now while they're still kind of scattered, Or do we deal with them in 10 years or 5 years when they control a piece of land, they have their own country, and they use it to plan and carry out attacks that kill Americans here and around the world?
Rubio will surely play up his hawkish views if he runs for president. As for Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, he's also thinking about running for president. He came here touting his pro-life credentials, complete with a video before his introduction. He's a bit on the defensive after he recently said how Republicans might need to agree to disagree on social issues.
I don't want to change our platform. We need to be the pro-life party, the pro-traditional marriage party. But can we accept some people who don't agree with some of those issues in the party? I think if we are not so strident to push people away, maybe having some people in the party who don't all agree with us, maybe we'll have a chance to persuade them, and we'll be a bigger party.
One item all these speakers agree upon is that religious liberty is under attack, whether through Obamacare here at home or abroad, where Christians are being persecuted for their faith. This crowd also agrees that they don't want to see a Hillary Clinton presidency. Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann told us that would be a nightmare.
She will be Barack Obama's third and fourth term of fundamentally transforming the United States of America away from the constitutional principles that the founders bled and died to give us.
It is those founders' principles that the 1,000 plus people in this room are fighting for. The goal for them now is to mobilize other voters of faith to make a difference at the ballot box. The polling shows that when evangelical Christians show up, they can make the difference. David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
Pat, those were some pretty big players in front of a critically important voting bloc.
Well, they really are. Ralph Reed, I had the Christian Coalition. I put him on as executive director, and he's moved on to start something like the Christian Coalition, except it's doing a very good job. Ralph is a very adroit political figure, and this is an important bloc. I think the big thing is that we can't have bomb throwers, and I think some of those who are considered Tea Party they're not quite sure what they're doing, and they don't have leadership, and as a result, they can cause sometimes more harm than good. So we're just not sure. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. But the country is clearly in the wrong direction, and people feel that. But I tell you, something else is in the wrong direction, is the Presbyterian Church USA. You talk about screwballs, it's bad. John has that story.
Pat, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is criticizing the Presbyterian Church USA for the decision to sell its stock in U.S. businesses in the West Bank. Netanyahu said Israel is the one democracy in the Middle East that protects human rights, including those of Christians. He said the vote should trouble all people of conscience because it was so, quote, disgraceful. And he had a recommendation for the Presbyterians.
You know, I would suggest to this Presbyterian organizations to fly to the Middle East, come and see Israel for the embattled democracy that it is, and then take a bus tour. Go to Libya, go to Syria, go to Iraq, and see the difference. And I would give them two pieces of advice. One is make sure it's an armor-plated bus. And second, don't say that you're Christians.
Netanyahu said he wonders why Israel had been singled out for such treatment. The U.S. World Cup soccer team can still advance to the next round in Brazil, even after Portugal's upsetting last-second goal in Sunday's game. After the first half, the U.S. was down 1-0, but an amazing strike by Jermaine Jones tied up the game. Then, in the 81st minute, Clint Dempsey scored to put the U.S. ahead 2-1. It looked like the U.S. was headed toward a guaranteed spot in the next round of 16 teams, but with just seconds left in the game, Portugal scored with a diving header. The U.S. will advance if it beats or ties Germany on Thursday. Well, churches in Brazil are mobilizing to reach soccer fans at the World Cup with the gospel. About 3 million international visitors will attend the games, and Christians are handing out literature with a message of hope. Some are also flashing this red card, similar to the cards used by soccer referees, but with a message warning against human trafficking.
Then there are the typical, drama, dance, cultural exchange teams that are on the streets and ministering to the people. We have many, many different opportunities to also reach out to people in different languages. For example, you can now on your smartphone actually download 700 languages of the spoken New Testament.
The opportunity for sharing with World Cup visitors will continue through the championship game, which is scheduled for the 13th of July. And of course, Pat, CBN is doing work on the ground there with Operation Blessing, working to combat human trafficking.
Well, that's exactly right. Operation Blessing has got a huge plan going to reach out to millions of people during those games. And unfortunately, there are thousands of young girls who have been trafficked. And so these people who come to those games are not necessarily just there for sport, they're there for some sex as well. And the sex is involving young girls who have been taken from their families. And so CBN, or I should say Operation Blessing, is sending out a video that is very beautiful called One Reel. Oh, maybe it's One Real, I don't know. And there's so many things being done, but if you want to participate, it's CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia 23463, Operation Blessing International. One of the things that it does to reach those less fortunate. John?
Pat, not getting enough sleep can be bad for your health. A lack of sleep is tied to obesity, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, depression, heart attacks, strokes, and even possible premature death. USA Today reports that the Centers for Disease Control called insufficient sleep a public health epidemic. One expert tells the paper sleep is one of the 3 keys to health, along with the right nutrition and exercise. And for tips on how you can get good sleep, you can go to cbnnews.com. And Pat, you're one of the healthiest guys I know. Can you let everyone know if you're getting enough sleep at night?
Well, man, I'm getting enough sleep. I also take naps from time to time. That's especially something you can do on Sunday afternoon. It used to be people that eat a big meal on Sunday, then they take a nap. And
yep, my grandma called it 20 winks.
20 winks. Well, it's good. My father lived a long, healthy life, and he always had in his office, the secretary would say 30, and that meant he would go in and just nap for 30 minutes, and then he'd work out in the gym.
Very refreshing, yes.
But it's got to be done. And one more time, if you don't get it, if you get enough sleep, your body produces what's called leptin. Leptin reduces your appetite and causes you to lose weight. If you don't get enough sleep, your body produces something called ghrelin. And ghrelin makes you hungry, it makes you want to eat. And so low sleep means increased appetite, means more fat. So if nothing else, to lose weight, which everybody wants to do, is a desirable thing, go to bed early.
Jill Duggar of the show 19 Kids and Counting got married Saturday. The 23-year-old bride married Derek Dillard in front of more than 1,000 family and friends at the Cross Church in Springdale, Arkansas. And the two had their first kiss after they exchanged their vows. Derek has called her, quote, the girl of his dreams. CBN is helping hundreds of children in need in Thailand as they get ready to go back to school. 240 school children from low-income farming families in a remote area of northern Thailand attended a recent CBN back-to-school event. Children received school supplies like backpacks, notebooks, and lunchboxes. They were also invited to watch the David episode of Superbook. The response was positive. One young student said he learned that God is with David, so he has a brave heart, and that if we are with God, no matter where we are, God is with us too. Out of the mouths of babes. Well, you can find out more about what CBN is doing around the world by logging on to cbn.com/international.